Welcome back, people. Welcome back to another episode of the Sick Podcast Info Show, where we will be discussing just some more news that we've heard. It's been a little bit calm, thank God, because honestly, when it's not calm, the news we get is kind of crazy. But you know what? We're here. We're glad you're here. Sammy, go ahead and bring us in.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. And Bill Show.
Intercepted! Marlon Jackson! Marlon's got it! We're going to the Super Bowl! We're going to the Super Bowl! Marlon Jackson with the interception! He picked off Tom Brady!
The sickest Indianapolis Colts podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And yes, it is sick. Welcome back to the Sick Podcast Anvil Show. Once again, coming to you with everything Colts. I am CJ. I have with me my esteemed co-host,
Big P.
All right. And so with that being said, people, wherever you're watching, make sure that you are liking, commenting, sharing all the good things. Make sure that you're following the YouTube page and making sure that you're saying so that other people follow the YouTube page as well. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and just get into the cold stuff because, like I said, we got some things here and there. But you know what? I think the one thing that we have heard, and we've heard speculation, but now we've heard it directly from the horse's mouth. No pun intended. Anthony Richardson said that he will 100% be ready for training camp. So amidst the speculation, amidst everything else, it looks like it basically was some soreness and making sure that, just kind of maintaining it. So with that being said, Pat, now that we know for a fact that he is saying that he's on track to be able to start training camp, where does that leave us now when it comes down to these talks? Because we've also heard that Daniel Jones has been doing pretty well, in camp. But where does that leave us now in terms of our speculations, in terms of this quote unquote QB competition?
Honestly, I think it leaves us at the same spot.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this in length last week. And I know you guys were laughing at me. But I just don't see these mini OTAs, the rookie OTAs, and that stuff as a big marker for the competition. I just don't see it. So with Anthony not out there, would I have the same opinion if it was Daniel Jones? If it was the other way? Yeah, because I don't think the competition has technically started. Now, Are they keeping score? Sure. Are they watching tape? Sure. But I think it's more for the technical side of what the QB does. Feet,
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
Shoulder placement before the throw, all that good quarterback talk. I can see them judging them with the mechanics of the position, but nothing else. Because it's still backyard football. I don't care what anybody says. Until you're full speed and in pads, it's backyard football.
Okay.
And that's why I come that way. So I don't, with Anthony saying what he said, to me, it's the same position that we was in at the start of OTAs.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I could be 100% wrong. They could be, judging these guys a lot harder than I think they are. I don't know. I just don't see it.
Yeah. I think at this point it's very tough to kind of gauge like where they are, if at all. Because I think, my thought process from the very beginning with everything was that, it was going to be Anthony's job to lose.
Agree.
Because you are bringing in somebody essentially who you're saying is going to be competition, but it's going to be hard to just justify that, Daniel Jones is just a quarterback that can just walk in and then just take this job, as opposed to it being like Anthony would really have to like just go out there, look like he's made no progress, look like he's put in no work, and pretty much just look the exact same way he did last season. And ultimately that ends up turning into, well, we should just go with Daniel just because of the fact that it looks like Anthony just doesn't give a damn.
Right, which I don't think that's the case at all.
Yeah.
I think his biggest problem is he wasn't even 21 when he got drafted.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're a teenager.
Yeah.
Basically, you're making him a millionaire. And I blame his camp. I blame the people around him that did not keep him motivated, did not keep him focused, did not teach him the right ways to becoming that franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
Because you can absolutely play QB, be a damn good QB, but if you're not considered that franchise guy, you're just QB. You're just there. You're a spot filler.
Yeah.
No team looks for the spot fillers unless they're backup spot.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
with me saying all that, Chris, there's a lot of things that a franchise quarterback has to do.
Yeah.
And, in the first couple of seasons, we saw that wasn't getting done. We saw that could have been one of the major contributing factors of the benching.
Yeah.
Of showing up late for meetings, this, that. I'm not going to rehash all of it, but I think he's turned it around. I think he understands what it takes to be that franchise quarterback, and now he's doing those things because he wants to be that quarterback. I do believe somebody finally got into his head. Hey, as talented as you are, it's not enough. As good as you are, it's not enough.
As athletic as he is.
As athletic as you are, it's not enough. As quick and as big and as strong as you are, it's not enough. Because it's all the small things that a franchise quarterback does that makes him that franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
And you can't be the leader of that team unless you're doing those small things, because it's the small things that garner the respect from your teammates.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. But from what I've seen and what I've read, it really seems like he's got the right voices in his head now. And that's a good thing for him. That's a good thing for us as a fan base.
Yeah, I think, and it is, and it's. I'm gonna say it's just like the biggest culture shock was probably walking into a place where, you're still possibly the most athletic person on the field, but now you have to be the utmost voice. You have to be the utmost, person that's in charge of direction. Like I said, when it comes down to like high school, even college to a certain extent, there's a certain level of expectation. But depending on where you go, leadership isn't something that you necessarily have to work on. It's not something that you have to deal with because there's a lot of places or there's a lot of, college teams where you insert the quarterback. If the quarterback's great, then they'll just be able to go ahead and march them down the field any given Saturday, and they'll be able to just go out there and just do what they're supposed to do. But leadership is something that is going to always make the difference because leadership means that the guys all believe in you the right way. The guys always believe in you. And I don't think that is necessarily an issue with the guys not believing in Anthony. I believe they 100% believe in Anthony. I think what they want from him, they want him to step up and they want him to be that voice that says, yo, we need to get this shit together. I'm going to make sure that I get this shit together. And then that's the way that they do it. Because, like I said, I don't think on the high school or even in the college level, no, on the college level, he's never really had to because he had 1 year starting. 1 year starting in college. Now, if this was like a 3-year starter, I would expect him to maybe just be a better leader because of the fact that he would have more time to be able to go ahead and not just play with, some of those guys who'd been in college a little bit longer than he did, but he'd also have the ability to be able to lead some of those younger guys in and let them know exactly what it is. But being that you've never had the opportunity to do that on any given level, now, now at this level, he's taken a crash course in what it takes for him to be successful. And he's only going to be successful if he is able to lead, but then also produce. Because production is also going to be a very, very big thing. And I think that's what we're looking at right now, especially going into training camp, because he's going to have to show that he absolutely has improved. And I don't know, I know that I was a little bit worried, but it's just like now he's going to be there for training camp. My worry is that not necessarily with him producing, but is he going to be able to be healthy and consistently stay healthy to be able to go ahead and really just make sure that he's securing his job and not letting Daniel Jones take over? That's my biggest thing for him at this point.
Right. Hey, Sammy, bring up Teresa's last comment. She says, be honest, is your patience wearing thin with Richardson? Teresa, my complete honesty is no. When we drafted this kid, we knew he was a 20-year-old project. We knew this. He didn't even have his full rookie season because of injury. His second season, it was riddled with young mistakes. I want to see what he does this season. So is my patience wearing thin? No, absolutely not. Maybe it is for a lot of the journalists out there, like what is it? Gridiron Gang just keeps blasting him, talking about he'll never see the field with Daniel Jones back there, blah, blah, blah. That I'm getting my patience is wearing thin on because I just don't believe it.
For me, patience, absolutely not, because I came into the season saying that I have no expectations. I will go according to what I see and what I see only. I will have thoughts of what it could be 100%, but I'm not gonna go and say, oh yes, without a doubt, this is like my patience is wearing thin, because at the end of the day, he's only halfway through his contract anyway. So even if for some reason he goes out there this year, whether he does good or bad, you have one more year, which means that you have one more year where you're potentially going and seeing what's out there, seeing what's happening with him, seeing if he's really going to reach those levels of progression and quarterback evolution that you want him to. So for me, my patience can't wear thin, because at the end of the day, it's just like on the business end of it, he got 2 years left regardless.
Yeah. What about you, Clyde? Teresa asked the question: is your patience getting thin with Anthony?
Of course, my answer to that is no. I feel like we've talked about this ad nauseum. He definitely got thrown into the fire too soon. And so we're now kind of just, kind of raking through the coals and trying to get him back, to start another fire, if you will. And I feel like every year he's got, new challenges, like, so we already know the shoulder is sore. As you guys have talked about, he's coming back for training camp, but will it hold up throughout training camp? Is he really behind the power curve? Like everybody's, reporting he's way behind. I seen that a couple days ago, way behind Daniel Jones or whatever. Like, I don't know what's true anymore. I don't know what's to believe. But as far as my patience with him, like, no. I mean, I think we wanted him to be great right away, but like a lot of things Indiana when it comes to sports, like it just don't line up, man. Like I seen something on Twitter yesterday, and it's like the saddest thing ever from Peyton Manning. And so it went like football, basketball, all the injuries we've had to like endure, that were like basically catastrophic for our franchises. It's just wild, man. And like the whole Anthony situation, it's kind of like on the fence of that, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not that yet. You know what I mean? So I look at it like this, man. There's a changing of the guard, and it kind of forced its change. With the passing of Mr. Ursay. I'm not sure, like you guys talked about a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure how much patience the girls are gonna have. I'm not sure, you know, how dramatic they might be if this is another one of those mediocre seasons. Will that potentially mean, changing in leadership? Will it mean players change? I don't know, because now it's under new direction, and we just gonna have to fall into line. So what we feel may not matter because Carly might be like, I'm done with all this stuff.
Yeah.
Rip it all up. But I hope that she doesn't. It's not even about hoping for potential at this point. It's really like if we can just take our eyes off of talking about Anthony so much and then just let the natural forces, show us the end
Play
result.
out. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's better than just all of these hypotheticals and it's just too many what ifs. What if he wouldn't have never started? What if this was his first year? It would have been like Jordan Love. We wouldn't be in this predicament. Blah 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 blah. I don't know, man. So no, my patience is not thin, Teresa, but I'm tired of the conversation, if you will. like like it's just, man, it's overbearing, and it's just like, God, like we still got like 10 Sundays till we'll even know who's starting, right? Like, it's what we gonna do this for 10 more
Well,
weeks?
Clyde, I'll remind everybody that, and nobody on this panel crowned him king of the NFL yet.
Oh yeah, but by
No,
foot.
nobody has, So
Yeah.
is my patience then? No. Do I want him to reach his ceiling with us? Absolutely.
Of
It's
course.
the
Yeah.
tallest ceiling I have ever seen any athlete come into any league.
Of
Yeah.
course. Of
Now, how
course.
long is it going to take him to get there, or at least get close enough with his consistency, close enough to his ceiling with his leadership? Hey, that's everybody's guess, and everybody's going to have to sit back and watch. If he can start making those improvements, we got our guy. If he can't, we don't. I mean, it's that simple.
It's
But
really that.
I'm rooting for the kid. I really am. I do like him. I like his character. I like his athleticism. I like his abilities. Now he just got to put it all together and be
Yeah.
that franchise quarterback we all want him to be.
And I feel like what we need to do better as a fan base, but more so like things that are out of our control. So I'll say as a fan base, we just need to be supportive. But the things that are out of our control, like and that we hope and wish, may happen with the organization, like we have to learn how to play winning football again. And when I say winning football, that has nothing to do with position by position, like learning how to win collectively as a team, right?
Yeah.
So does that mean we're running the ball more to potentially protect him from his insecurities of throwing? Maybe. Does that mean we're building a better defense to be able to be in better positions, shorter fields, give them better, field what can I think? Uh I can't even think,
Position,
but
field
yeah, field
Time.
position.
position. I was like tripping. I had a brain fart, but yeah, like I mean, because that's winning football. Like we need to focus on that versus like, oh, everybody that's won a Super Bowl, they got this guy at quarterback and this guy at quarterback. Well, the funny thing about this is the funny thing about how this works.
Preach it,
Three
baby. Preach.
three
I
years
know where it's
ago,
coming.
Jalen Hurts went to the Super Bowl. They lost. Came back that next year. They was talking about Jalen Hurts might not be their guy. They was ready to just
Yeah.
take him out. And then they stuck with him. You know what I mean? He kind of had an up and down season that year. I think he was like high on interceptions or turnovers or something. They keep working on the defense. They bring in Saquon Barkley, and it was like the season before never happened because Jalen Hurts is back in the mix. They win the Super Bowl. Like that's team football. You know what I'm saying? That was a collective team football. And
Yep.
Lurie does not mess around when it comes to building. He's kind of like Sam Presti in the NBA with OKC. Like he just keep getting richer, and like that's where we need to focus our support and what the team is looking like collectively, and ultimately like learning how to win again as a whole damn team because it's been so long, bro. It's been so long since we had both sides of the ball plus special teams, coaching staff. It's been so long since we won collectively as a team. Like we just,
Yeah.
Andrew Luck bailed us out a lot. That team was terrible. Like
Yeah.
the only good
Yeah.
team he had was his last year, where it was like, okay, we can run the ball, they can block, receivers are doing what they're supposed to, and then ultimately, like, damn, he was just tired of being hurt, and so he stepped away. But those first 5 years of his career, bro, that was helter skelter football. He was running for his
Yeah.
life, saving us. Like he had some games where he played terribly, but ultimately won the game. So you forgot that he threw 3 interceptions or whatever. Like that's not you don't want to sustain that as the way. You want to be solid across the board. So let's just support the squad and get back to being solid across the board. You know what I mean? That's what I want to see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, 100%. Yeah, and I'm gonna say like Clyde, expanding on what you're saying, especially when it comes to team ball, because this the team aspect of everything has been, for lack of a better word, very weird over the last few years. And I don't know whether it was because of like Gus with the way that he was doing the defense, and it's just like seeing what we saw out there, like seeing how we came into last season thinking like the D line was probably the safest spot on the whole entire defense, and they were getting absolutely shellacked throughout the
Yeah.
season. Like I mean,
Big.
they got smoked like brisket, and I mean it was weird because we're not used to seeing things just be so out of like disarray. Like we generally, and I want to say even if we're not the best on defense, we have one unit that we know for a fact is generally going to be like that top 15 unit that we'll be able to say, okay, we can rely on them, and then the other two, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
But then it's just like last year, it's just like it was the whole damn defense.
Everything was
And then
bad.
it's just like
Facts.
you got rid of Gus Bradley because you're just like, listen, if it's the whole damn defense, it's probably the whole damn defensive coordinator. And I mean, like getting rid of him was probably like one of the best moves that they can make. But then now it's like you see the team, you see how they could potentially scheme things up. We talked to a couple of the guys at Kenny Moore's camp, talked to Jalen Jones, talked to Kenny, talked about them being more aggressive and
Yeah.
guys actually like kind of holding back. But then also you're seeing like, dang, they
Yeah.
really seem like they're genuinely excited about that. So now it's like, okay, even if going into this season, if you have one, maybe even two units on defense, whether it be D line, linebackers, like if they're good, or secondary, we're going to see. I think we're going to see the defense just being way more consistent than they have been before.
Yep.
Because somebody said they were just like, we don't know what we're going to get out of Lou and Aroma. I was just like, we were like a bottom five defense last year. I highly doubt that we're going to be any worse than we were last year, being that we were bottom five unless we're dead last, and I highly doubt that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chris, and I think the key point to that is like going back to what I was saying. Like, if you want to build confidence on one side of the ball, then be very solid on the other side of the ball. Because if
Hmm.
Anthony is consistently getting, he's starting drives at the 40 going forward, or he's starting drives off of turnovers, and then we're on their side of the field, like that makes the running game better because it's like, oh shit, we can just run this in. That makes
Hmm.
field goals and special teams get a little bit confidence because if you can't, like, they getting chip shots, like,
Yep.
you're able to try things. Like, the way that you play team football is one side of the ball initially has to take the lead, right? And maybe
Yeah.
that's the defense coming out. Maybe the defense in the first month of the season comes out and they're creating turnovers like we were doing years ago, and they're giving you short fields, and maybe you starting a little bit slow, but you're like, you know what? Yeah, we're still scoring 21, 24 points a game because you know what? Our drives are not being, at the other side of the field. Like, we don't have to worry about thirds and tens and all that, and then it's a punt. Maybe it's third and 10, we don't get it, but we can kick a field goal. Like, then you start to come along, and then at some point that other side catches their stride, and then before you know it, the team is clicking all the way through. Because it's rare that week one both sides of the ball is like firing off, and you're like, oh man, this is already the best team in the league. Like, offense number one, defense number one. It's rare, but
It's
Yeah.
rare for this team.
yeah,
Very.
it's like
Yes.
rare for any team.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I don't know stats, right off the top of my head, but I would be interested to know, like, who was the last team to finish, first in offense, first in defense type thing as a collective. Like, who that would, like, what season that would have been, or like,
The
like
start
what
of the
team.
season first and ended the season first,
Like,
right?
yeah, like they're overall. Well, you can't really say start the season, but I mean, like, overall when the season was over, like, they were number one in defense, number one in offense, like that squad. That wasn't last year with the Eagles, right?
No, no, no,
They
no. Because
wouldn't one and one.
The Eagles defense was actually like they were middle of the pack
Yeah.
for a good portion of the year,
Right. Right.
but
Right.
they just kicked up because they knew how to play the
Yep.
Chiefs. But
Facts.
and I, you know what? And we like I had a discussion about this today, right? So we had discussion, just on Spaces on Twitter, and they were talking about the fact that that team last year, that Eagles team, kind of gave you a formula or a blueprint as to how to be able to put together a team that is, going to be able to contend for a championship, even if for some reason QB play isn't like on a Mahomes type level, or let's just say a Josh Allen type level. Because if you look at that team, especially in the playoffs, there was a big resounding theme of just being heavy on defense, but then also just going heavily to the run game. Now, mind you, of course, it's Saquon, because Saquon is Saquon regardless.
Yep.
But I mean, there were games where Jalen wasn't good. I
Facts.
mean, he had one game where it's just like, I think it was 250 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. But that was also the game where Saquon ran for, I think he ran for over, I think he ran for over 180 and ended up
Mhm.
with 2 TDs. And those were the deciding factors with that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we're talking about like quarterback play, I know like we all want to see Anthony like throw for like 35, 4,000,
Mhm.
4,500. We want to see that. But realistically, if you can get him to the point where he's throwing at a volume that's maybe between 2,500 to 3,000,
I'm happy.
and then he's also not turning the ball over at a high clip,
I'm
that
happy.
means that the ball's moving. Jonathan Taylor's going to get his, and then the defense is going to be able to get theirs also. So, I want to say we can temper our expectations, and we can say yes, we want Anthony to throw for 4,000, but we got to be okay with him throwing between 2,500 to 3,000, and making sure that we are realistically just hoping that he's just not turning the ball over. If he's
Bro,
not turning the ball over with those type of yards, he's good.
man, if he's QB1, give me 3,000 20 plus touchdowns through the air, 7 or 8 on the ground, 450, 500 yards on the ground for him, and 55%. Give me that, and I'm like, oh my God, he's ascending. Because going from 47% to 70% is not realistic in a season,
No,
right?
no, absolutely not.
And probably even aiming for 60%, 65%, not realistic in a season. So give me Andrew Luck numbers. Andrew Luck's first couple years, he was around 54%, 57, anywhere between 54 and 58 over those first couple years. Like, and we forget about that because he was also throwing for 4,500 yards and however many touchdowns. But like his field goal percentage, his completion percentage was not great. So I'm saying for Anthony, just to, like you said, temper those expectations. If he's named QB1, give me 3,000 yards through the air, give me 20 plus touchdowns through the air, another 6 to 7 on the ground, 450, 500 yards on the ground, and that's a hell of a season at 55%. And this team can
Yeah,
be deadly. This team
yeah,
can be deadly. Give me Jalen Hurts play without the turnovers that he had a couple years ago. But just give me his consistent go out there, run the offense, do your thing. You got 28 right next to you. He's primed and ready. You got Giddens now, who's going to be able to give him a break. He's primed and ready. And we don't have a receiving core, that screams and demands, I need my 1,500 yards. We don't
yeah,
have that guy. So spread the ball around, utilize every weapon that you have. Now, especially with they bringing Tyler Warren in, and just watch how consistent this team can be. Those would be the numbers. I don't need
yeah,
Anthony to give me 4,500 yards this coming year. I don't think that that's out of the question down the road, but it probably just won't, maturate like the Mahomes did so early, or the Josh Allen kind of early after year two. Like, we just not there with him, and that's fine. But we can still be a damn good team, double digit wins, and be talked about as a legit threat with the numbers I just gave you.
yeah,
And people will still be upset because I mean, it's recency bias. We want to have the next Peyton Manning. We want to have the next Andrew Luck. But you know what? Anthony Richardson may not become either one of them in the sense of how he got it done. But if he brings a championship to this city, and we are consistent winner. We're perennial, if you will. We always showing up to the
Hmm.
playoffs. Like, throw all that other nonsense out the door, man. I don't care if it looks like Mahomes. I don't care if it looks like Allen. I don't care if he's ever talked about his top 5 quarterback. Those are just things to talk about. And sometimes
Yep.
we hate that we're no longer in that conversation. I feel like fans hate that we're no longer in certain conversations.
Yeah, yeah, and I think
Absolutely.
it's hubris. It's a little bit of hubris because
Facts.
we had to be in those conversations for decades even.
Yeah.
And so now it's just like we're on the outside looking in. Like,
Mhm.
when you look at the history even of our division, nobody has the one up on us in this division at all. Every
Nobody.
single team, every single team in this division, I think legitimately would have to sweep us for possibly close to 7 to 8 seasons to even and this is the team that's closest to us. I think the Jags may be the team that's closest to us. They might be. And uh-oh.
I mean, like a lot of
We
Spanish.
lost you, Clyde.
Yeah.
Oh, you lost. Okay.
Yeah, you started getting a little scratchy. But no, but like every single team in the division is like we have double digit wins on. And so the thing is, like, when you're looking at our team, we know that literally we always have a team that is going to be able to compete. It's just, like I said, it's just the quarterback position has been the one thing that has plagued us for God knows how long. And I think it's very upsetting for a lot of us that we're not considered a threat the way that we believe that we're a threat. It's like
Hmm.
believing that any quarterback that we get, we're going to make better because we get them, as opposed to the last team that had them. And I mean that's what we've dealt with this whole Daniel Jones thing. They're just like, oh well, Daniel Jones didn't have X, Y, and Z when he was in New York. It's just like, yeah, but when all things aligned, he still wasn't able to really go ahead and will that team through.
Nope. And
Like
and
we
that
had.
that's my whole thing with Daniel Jones is, the last 6 years he has not shown me anything to give me hope that he's going to take us to the championship.
Yeah.
Now Anthony hasn't given us much, but he's given us some.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I don't see giving up on this kid just yet. I really
Yeah.
don't. And unless there's some things going on in the background that we just don't know about. And what he's
In the
doing.
background with him, or talk about front
Yeah,
office.
for him.
Oh,
That
okay.
like he's doing something that we don't know about, but the team knows about it. And they're getting tired of his antics or this and that. Things like that we'll never um, get to learn about. But,
Yeah.
you know, again, I think he's quite capable. I think he will make it.
Yeah, and I think it's also about he uh, and many people they don't want to hear this, but like I said, this is the business standpoint of things. He's going to be here unless he just has a year that is going to be just awful this upcoming year, and he ends up being really bad. He's going to be here regardless. He's here for another 2 years.
Yep.
So as we can see right now, it's just like we want results. I get it. I 100% believe it. But also from a business standpoint, don't be surprised if he's here, all the way until the end of the 2027 or the 2026-2027 season. Because from a business standpoint, you're not gonna cut a loss just because you believe that it's just like, oh, get him out of here, unless he just does something that's egregious. But other
Right.
than that, it's just like you're still, even if you cut him, just if you cut him because of performance, then that's fine. You're still on the hook to pay him because he still has money that he's supposed to have, being that he's under that rookie contract. But we have to be able to temper our expectations. And I mean, honestly, it's just like the best case scenario, because if we're looking like, and we talked about last week, when we're talking about the difference between AR and Daniel Jones, if AR is good, then we know that we have our guy. If he can go ahead, turn around, if he can be better, more yards, less turnovers, more touchdowns, more rushing yards, and he's able to stay healthy, then we know that we got our guy. But then, if for some reason he's bad, then we end up just being, possibly, maybe in a range that's going to be under 500, where we're potentially going to be drafting our guy next season. The issue that we have with Daniel Jones is that Daniel Jones potentially is going to give us a Gardner Minshew season.
And we're stuck in the middle of the pack again.
Exactly. Now, there's going to be more options at quarterback in the draft, but once again, we're looking that far ahead because of the fact that now we know that if AR pans out, then we're good. If he doesn't, we're good. But then if Daniel Jones, if he ends up panning out, we're right there in the middle. And then on top of that, you're potentially having to look at paying him a little bit less than what you might have paid AR as a quarterback now that's going to be on the team waiting to go ahead and just draft another guy anyway. Because I don't see anybody just looking at Daniel Jones and saying he's going to be the guy in whatever team he's going to be on for 3 to 4 years. I just don't see that.
Right. I don't either.
So
he hasn't given us anything to see that.
Yeah. I mean,
You know what? So how can anybody hold on to that? Now, again, I'm going to say this as plain as I can. If Daniel Jones is on the field week 1, he's the guy I'm rooting for. I'll always root. I'll always root for my team. I will never root against them. Absolutely, regardless who's under there, regardless what my thoughts are in fandom is about that particular player. I was very vocal that I hated Phillip Rivers. Hate him. Still do. Not hate him as a man, but hate him as a player. But
Phillip Rivers was funny. He was funny.
He came, took us to the playoffs. What else can you say about the guy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I still don't like him.
Yeah.
But I cheered for him, and so whoever's under center is going to get my cheers. But for just casual off-season talk, I just don't see it, Chris. I don't see how he can beat him out.
Oh, you don't see how Daniel Jones can beat out AR?
Yeah, I just don't see it, man. I mean, especially if he's got his footwork down, he's getting the better understanding of the defenses. The game's going to start slowing down for him at that point.
Yeah.
And when it does, he's gonna light people up.
Oh yeah. Oh, and by the way, just to let you know, well, I did look it up, but I don't think that was necessarily it. But the team to end the season, 2010 San Diego Chargers had ended the season with both the number 1 offense and number 1 defense. But interestingly enough, they didn't make the playoffs.
Really?
Yeah, because they started off the season a little bit slow, and so the issue that they had was that they ended the season number 1 in both offense and defense, but they weren't able to make the playoffs because of the fact that they did so well late that they weren't able to get it together, and then that just pretty much screwed them for good. So, yeah, I had to look that up, and yeah, that was pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting. So, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of stats don't mean you're going to win.
Yeah.
How many times did someone say, "Oh, such and such team won the free agency"? Great. Yeah. What'd they do with it? Nothing.
Exactly. Because I don't know how many times we heard that Jacksonville won free agency, and they haven't had anything to show for it.
Mm.
So, yeah, we
about 37 new coaches in the last 8 years.
Exactly.
That's about all they've got to show for it.
Yeah, and their new GM looks like he's fresh out of community college. So, I mean, as far as this goes, like, yeah.
Hey, don't be knocking my community college.
Okay. For a local Jacksonville community college.
Okay, you can knock them.
Yes, exactly. There you go. My bad. But like, I think what we're especially when it comes down to this discussion about Anthony, the discussion about Anthony is very, very polarizing. And I say polarizing because of the fact that it gives us something to be very, I'm going to say, it gives us something to disagree on, right? Because I think the one thing in this whole entire equation that we've ever had is Anthony Richardson, whether we should keep him based on potential, whether we should just get rid of him, give him more time to develop. He should have already developed, like trying to figure out exactly which way you're supposed to go with this. And, at the end of the day, it's just like if Anthony Richardson was gone tomorrow, let's just say traded for a sixth round pick, we wouldn't be talking about anything moving forward. We'd be talking about what the team's going to potentially do. We're going to be talking about, oh yeah, well, I think that this is going to be good. How's Daniel Jones going to look against this defense and this defense? But right now, just because of Anthony Richardson just being on the roster and us having very limited scope about what he's going to do or what's going to happen with him, it gives everybody a chance to play armchair GM. And I think we're going to hear that until, it's announced preseason week 4 whether or not Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson is going to be the guy, because then everybody, if AR ends up being QB1 to start the season, then you have the AR enthusiasts who are just like, yep, we know he's going to do well. We know what it's going to be. If Daniel Jones ends up starting because he beats out AR, then you have the Anthony Richardson haters that are going to say, oh, well, no, we knew that he wasn't going to win. We know that he wasn't going to win that job because, he's this and he's that and he's all these things outside of the thing that his mother named him. So we're going to continue to hear that. But the thing about it is that we just have to be patient, because the one question that I asked, especially before Daniel Jones was signed at the end of the season, was, okay, you want to get rid of Anthony Richardson. Give me your plan for quarterback. And you're not allowed to say things like, oh, sign Sam Darnold, because that lets me know that you're going with the most extreme recency bias ever. Because if you've ever seen Sam Darnold play, he's had 7 years in the league, and he finally put it together in 1 year. And I'm going to say right now that we're probably going to see him take a step back because he moved away from the Minnesota Vikings, where that is a QB haven.
Yep. So, and who was their defensive coordinator out there?
In Minnesota?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what's the name? Flores.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They had easy top 10 defense.
Yep.
And this goes back to what Clyde was saying. A complete win is the defense getting off the field in 3 plays, keeping them back on their backside so their punt is only dropping on your 40 instead of your 10. That makes a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
Complete team win. Get the special teams moving that ball up a little bit more on those punts. Getting a turnover on defense, getting scores on offense.
Mm-hmm.
It all adds up.
Yeah.
And field placement is huge for any team. And Clyde said it best. It just, when you have good field position, you're just more relaxed. You have more options. Okay, yeah, let's JT's been running great. Let's stick with him. If we can't punch it in, at least we're in field goal range. Hey, we're behind a couple scores. Here's a good shot to go down the field, because we've only got 45 yards to go versus 80.
Yeah.
It changes the dynamic of the whole game when you have a complete team out there playing. Last few years, we haven't. Defense couldn't get off the field. Special teams did nothing to help you.
Yep.
So when Anthony did get the ball back, he was always at his end zone.
Yeah.
I can't say always, but you know what I'm saying. Fix those things and watch it. If you're the kind of person that's keeping track of stats, watch his stats fly, because now he's got half the field to go instead of 80% of the field.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And
know,
put him in a much better position overall.
the coaching staff has a lot more options right there at the better field position. It just works better. It absolutely does. You know, and the
Yeah.
thing is, ain't nobody out there can say, "Oh, we definitely got it. Anthony's definitely going to do this. Defense is definitely going to do this. Offensive line's going to do that." It's sad to say, but it's one of those things. We see what's being built. Now we have to wait and see how
Exactly.
it all comes together.
Yeah. And that's what we're and
And
that's where the
that's hard.
pushing
That's
for.
it's hard to sit there and wait like that.
Yeah, because the thing is, because like I said, and I know for a lot of people, and I know it's also some of like the newer fans, right? It's just like people who are in their 20s, like you and I, it's just like I'm in my late 30s, you about 73. So I mean, as far as as far as like the age group, as far as everything goes right now, then we don't have we have a certain level of patience because we've seen some things as opposed to people who came in during the whole luck era. So as it stands right now, just to everybody, just to everybody involved, I mean, from a standpoint of where we are or what's going to happen, we have no choice but to be patient. And it's not something that's going to happen overnight. Now, one thing that is, I'm going to say, very awe-inspiring is the fact that the girls are coming in with, to me, a renewed attitude in regards to this team. So, you know, I know that we've had to kind of wade through seasons that Jim might have been, I'm going to say, a little bit more forgiving, but I don't see the girls being as forgiving as Jim was. So people are going to have to put up.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I want to say on that one. Because is it truly being forgiving? I don't know. Let me come back to. Let me put my brain around those thoughts, because you just really stirred up a hornet's nest, if you will, and I don't know if you've quite realized it, because we've seen Jim, do some off-collar things in these last years that he's never done before, like fire a coach mid-season.
Yeah.
He's never done that before. We seen that a couple years ago when he fired Frank.
Yeah.
So where was his forgiving heart there? It wasn't. And I don't hold Ballard to the fire as hard as you do, because it's his job to bring the talent here. It's the coach's job to get the most out of that talent. And nobody can tell me that Gus Bradley got the most out of our defensive talent. Actually, he hindered him, in my opinion. That doesn't fall on Chris. Now, maybe it falls on Chris for not jumping in Gus's ass, saying, "Listen here, I don't know what the hell you're doing, but you're going to stop."
Yeah.
Now that I'll hold to, because yeah, they have to answer to him just like he has to answer to Jim, or now the girls. You know what I mean? So how do they look at it? That's the question. Do they look at it the way I see it, or are they looking at it the way you see it? Because the way you see it, the buck stops here, and that's on Ballard's head. On me, the buck goes further down the road. How are they going to see it? I don't know. That's another thing. As a fan base, we're going to have to sit and wait and watch.
Well, yeah, so the reason why, and the way that I look at it is more so, I'm gonna say maybe from like the business standpoint of things, right? Because the thing is, like a football team, you have 17 weeks to either prove that you can be 17-0, 0-17, or whatever you're gonna be in between. But the problem is that you have people who are coming into an organization. Now, people have said that this could be an analysis year. This could be time to go ahead and see exactly what things are going to be. But I think what we'll see from I'm going to say business standpoint is this team going to be a team that's going to be over 500? Not just a team that's over 500, but also is going to be a team that's in the playoffs. Because ultimately, the other thing about business is the fact that if your team doesn't make playoffs, your team season stops at week 18. If you end up making playoffs, or let's just say even if you host a wild card game, if we host a wild card game in Indy, you now have more revenue coming in because of the fact that you're going to have more fans in the seats past the normal regular season. Mind you, all that extra revenue isn't done until it's declared that you're in the playoffs. So if for some reason this team, let's just say, for example, let's just say this team ends up going, and I'm just saying a random example, I'm not saying this would be the case, but let's just say this team ends up being an 8-9 team. You miss the playoffs and you're under 500 again. That'll be a failure. And the problem is that you don't necessarily have the ability to say, well, we have a lot of young guys, we have guys who are developing, we saw some good things, we saw some bad things, because at the end of the day, no matter how much you can do that, it's not going to erase the fact that you once again are not potentially hosting a game or playing in a game come playoff time.
Yep.
And I mean, and for me, if I'm looking at the team, if I'm looking at new ownership, I'm seeing that they are more concerned about business than they are about relationships. Because at the end of the day, if this team isn't successful, can you justify keeping everybody that you have right now in the place that they are right now?
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one to answer. That is absolutely, and I won't be able to answer that honestly, and until we go through the emotions.
Yeah,
I want to see how, because look, there's been one team in the NFL go undefeated and win the Super Bowl. Out of all these years, one team's done that. So I like to see how they're playing. Win-loss record doesn't mean you're playing great football. Win-loss record doesn't mean you're playing team football, like Clyde said. Win-loss records doesn't mean, that Anthony's progression has taken leaps and bounds. So before I answer that question with honesty, I want to see how everybody's playing. I want to see how the coaches are going to do, because believe it or not, the coaching staff got a few new people on there. They have to learn how to work together, just like new players have to learn how to work together.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's just so many numbers in this variable for me to give an answer. But if you're holding me to the fire to give you an answer, yes. If we hit those marks, something's got to change.
Yeah.
You stay in mediocre land as long as we have. You just can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, let me see how the season goes. Let me see how everybody plays and say, yeah, this is shit ain't working. Blow it all up. Let's start over. Or I'm willing to give it another year or two. That's going to be either one of those is going to be my answer to your question. Yeah. I know it's pretty generic, but I don't want to just come out and be that fan screaming for change. If I see something that doesn't really need to be changed, they just weren't good enough that day. That happens every Sunday. There's lesser teams that beat better teams because the better team just wasn't playing well that day. Doesn't mean they're a sorry ass team because they got beat by Jacksonville. It just means they weren't playing well. How many times did that happen? You know, through our season, we got to find out. You know, if you can only beat the lesser teams, there's issues there. Everything gets exposed on the field. And to me, that's when that exposure comes, that's when you make the determination, you know, blow it up or stick it out. I don't know what else to say on that one, Chris.
I mean, it's once again, it's a wait and see. And like I said, we're just going to continue to wait and see until we get to that time where we will actually be able to see exactly how things are going to go. Because, of course, training camp starts July 22nd. So we are all patiently waiting. However, we are less than a month away from training camp. So that's great news. So in the meantime, we're still going to be coming to you, still giving you all things Colts, still making sure that we go over everything. So you know what, we're still going to do that. So we're about to get out of here, but before we do, Sammy, Pat, tell the people where they can find you on Twitter, on X, whatever you subscribe to.
You can find me on X at Big P Colts.
All right, and you can find me on Twitter at CJ Colts Fan. And you can find the podcast at SigPod Colts. Make sure that you like, comments, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And also, make sure that you're listening on Z103.com. That will be going live on Wednesdays, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central. And you'll also be able to find us on Mix 105. They actually commented in here. So shout out to Mix 105 for commenting. Shout out to everybody who's been in here. Stacy, Teresa, Zach. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody. And whoever I did miss who's been commenting, like I said, we love you. We appreciate you. Also, make sure, and please bring up the QR code. Make sure that you're going to visitindy.com. When you scan that QR code, you can actually go ahead and you can see it. Once again, it's Visit Indy, gives you all the attractions happening in Indy, anything that's going on that weekend, coming up, any events, you'll be able to go ahead and see that on Visit Indy on that app. So definitely, or I'm going to say on that website. So make sure that you're staying tuned. With that being said, people, we appreciate
Hold on. I got a couple things to address real quick. Sammy, do we still have the Blue Crew QR code? If we do, throw that up. Blue Crew's accepted membership right now. They're taking parking spots, all that stuff. So if you've ever been interested in becoming a Blue Crew member, evidently we don't have the QR code, but just reach out to somebody. Somebody knows somebody. I promise you that. Reach out to us on the page. We've got direct links. Actually, I posted the sign up sheet on the Facebook page. So if you just scroll through the Sick Podcast Anvil Facebook page, you'll find it. Click on it, sign up. I think it's like $45. But shoot, they give you back that plus some, and t-shirts, hats, koozies, license plates, all that good stuff. And you could be invited to the bar crawl, the bus trips to Tennessee. They're a matter of fact, that's what they're doing. They're signing up people for the bus trip to Tennessee game. You know, so the Blue Crew is really active in the community. They got a lot of things going on. You know, great organization to be a part of. Yep, and absolutely. Teresa, your question was, why don't you all put on your page when you'll be on, so who's interested in who's going on, blah, blah, blah. The biggest issue with that, Teresa, is I close shop at 7. The show's on at 7:15, so I'm screaming getting home. You've seen Clyde showing up late because of his work duties. Chris was even on late today, and he works from home.
Whoa, hey, I was here at 6:08, sir.
No, that's late for you, buddy.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But I also had to prepare some food, so yeah.
Right. But I'm just saying that's the reason why we can't get to the Facebook page every day and send out messages. Hey, blah 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 show's going to be on tonight. Just the best way, in my opinion, since we're all so daggum busy, just turn notifications on.
Gotcha.
That would be my Chris. Maybe we can try better. Do a better job putting on the Facebook page.
Yeah, we'll
try. We'll try, but don't hold our feet to the fire.
Yeah, just pre-record something. Just make sure that we just put it on the page, and that way it's just like to get ready and all that good stuff. So yeah, we'll definitely work on that, Teresa. Whatever makes it easier for y'all. Like I said, we appreciate y'all, so we listen to y'all. So this way we'll be able to make sure that if there's any way we can make that easier for you guys, then we definitely will.
Absolutely.
All right. So with that being said, you guys have a great week.
Don't forget about our Wells station. The radio station in the UK.
Oh, yes.
Did you mention them?
Station, yes, I did not mention them. Yes, make sure we are also broadcasting now in the UK. Tell them more about that station because I don't have that memorized as of yet.
Oh, I don't either.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's going to take me a minute to find it. No, we don't have a minute. I'm sorry,
okay,
sir.
Gotcha. Well, like I said, we will make sure that that's also posted on there. Since Pat was the one that brought it up and also forgot about it, he'll be the one to make sure that he's posting it. So
yeah, I'll reach out to him, see if we can't get their call sign, a QR code, maybe. Because we do have quite a few family members in the UK that watch us. So yeah, we want to definitely get that taken care of pretty quick. I'll reach out tomorrow, see what we can come up with. But if you're over in Wales and you're listening to us, we appreciate you.
Yep, absolutely. And with that being said, are we good now, Pat?
I think so.
Yeah, because Sammy going to be mad that you took us over an hour. But other than that, Sammy, go ahead and take us out.
He fires me every week. You know that, right?
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast and Bill Show on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.